I refused to reconcile with my sister after she got blackout drunk, physically attacked me, bit me, stomped on me, tried to fight my husband, had to be restrained by 3 men, got arrested, showed zero remorse, told me her therapist said she doesn't have to apologize, and now my mother is guilt-tripping me nonstop. I still think about that 4th of July, even now, over a year later. It should have been a beautiful memory. Our first real party in our new house, family and friends gathered in the backyard, food on the grill, music playing, kids running around. I wanted it to be the kind of day you look back on and smile. Instead, it's the day everything in my family shifted, cracked, and never quite fit back together again. Daniel and I had invited my sisters, Clara and Cindy, plus Clara's little boy Kenta, and a few of our close friends. Everyone arrived in good spirits. The weather was perfect, our house felt warm and alive, and for the first hour or two, everything really was fine. We were laughing, eating, tossing bean bags, chasing Kenta as he darted around the yard. I remember thinking, this is it. This is what I wanted. Clara decided she wanted to have a real night of drinking, so she volunteered to run to the store. As she grabbed her keys, Cindy called after her to pick up Crown Apple and apple juice, her usual combination. I didn't think anything of it. Just a simple liquor run. But as soon as Clara got back, literally within minutes, Cindy grabbed the bottle, filled a solo cup to the brim with straight Crown, and took a tiny sip of apple juice as a chaser. It wasn't even 5 p.m. yet. I remember watching her tip that cup back and drain it like water. No food, no pacing herself, nothing. And she kept doing it. All night. Pour, drink, chase, repeat. I kept glancing at Daniel, silently asking if he was seeing the same red flags I was. He was. But with Cindy, it always feels like you're watching someone teeter on the edge of a cliff. You want to reach out, but you don't know if she'll take your hand or shove you off with her. The thing about Cindy is she's always carried this heaviness. She came out to us in middle school, which surprised no one, but we let her wait until she was ready. Her best friend became her first girlfriend, and that relationship carved deep marks into her. Lying, cheating, jealousy, all the messy parts of young love amplified into adulthood. Once Cindy loves someone, she clings with this intensity that's hard to explain. It's like she's terrified they'll disappear if she loosens her grip even an inch. Then she went into the Navy after high school. Being deployed for months at a time only made her fears worse. She married that same high school girlfriend, but while Cindy was underway, her wife cheated twice and had 2 boys with another man. When Cindy finally came home, bruised from sea duty and desperate to salvage something, she still stepped in as a parent. She even gave the boys her last name. That's the decision that destroyed her. Legally, emotionally, financially, every direction you can imagine, she suffered for it. The divorce was brutal. The custody battle was uglier. And emotionally, she never really recovered. She carried that betrayal like a stone she refused to put down. Every relationship afterward, every friendship, every bad coping mechanism, it all traced back to that one wound. So when I watched her drinking that night, I knew it wasn't celebration. It was escape. Or punishment. Or both. But I didn't say anything. I pretended it would be fine. Everyone was still smiling, the sun was still out, and I didn't want to be the one to shatter the mood. Fast forward to that 4th of July, and Cindy had just come back from being stationed overseas for a full year. It was her first time back in the States, her first time around family, her first time feeling like she could breathe again. So of course she was going to let loose. I expected drinking. I just didn't expect that level. By around 7:30 or 8 p.m., she was already slurring her words, stumbling over her own feet, interrupting every conversation, and laughing way too loud at things that weren't funny. Anyone else would have admitted they were plastered. Cindy, on the other hand, just kept insisting she was Pythian, stretching the word out like it proved something. Part of the reason she was denying it was because she had driven herself to my house and had some 9 p.m. hookup planned. In her mind, she was leaving no matter what. That wasn't happening. Clara and I exchanged a look and immediately went into big sister emergency mode. As soon as Cindy set her phone and keys down, she had set an actual alarm for 8:30 to remind herself to leave. We swiped both. Hid them. We weren't letting her get behind the wheel in that condition, even if she hated us for it. When 8:30 rolled around, the alarm started blaring from the phone she couldn't find. That was when things went downhill fast. Cindy was drunk, like drunk, and now annoyed, confused, and determined. She stomped around the house looking for her stuff, muttering to herself, and then suddenly she got this laser-focused anger in her eyes. That's when she apparently remembered she had a bone to pick with my husband. Let me paint the picture clearly here. Daniel is 6 feet 4 inches, 210 pounds, all calm strength and steady presence. Cindy is 5 feet 5 inches, 245 pounds of solid muscle and attitude. When she's sober, she's intimidating enough. Drunk? She's a bull in a human body. I walked into the kitchen and saw her cornering Daniel, her finger practically poking his chest, her face inches from his, screaming about something that happened years before he and I even met. She was ranting about him having messaged her ex-wife, as she still calls her, even though the two of them had been divorced for 2 years at that point. In Cindy's mind, that woman was still off limits to everyone on earth, including Daniel, even if the messages were ancient history. See, when Daniel and I first got together 5 years ago, I did what a lot of people do. I scrolled through his social media, checked old messages, learned his history. I found the brief messages between him and Cindy's then ex. And they were nothing. Literally nothing. They weren't flirty, they weren't inappropriate, and they happened during a time when Cindy and that woman weren't even together. It was barely worth remembering. But Cindy remembered. Or, at least the alcohol made her remember. Daniel stood there frozen, staring down at her while she pushed and yelled. He looked at me like he was silently asking, "Am I allowed to defend myself?" And I stupidly gave him a small nod. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I thought Cindy needed to hear him out. Maybe I thought she'd calm down if he explained himself. Maybe I just panicked. Whatever my reasoning, it was the wrong move. The moment he started talking back, even calmly, I saw Cindy's eyes go dark. She wasn't hearing him. She wasn't processing logic or truth or the fact that this was ancient history. She was hearing betrayal. She was feeling old wounds. She was lashing out at the closest target. The second Daniel started clapping back, I knew we had crossed a line we couldn't walk back from. He wasn't yelling, but he wasn't holding back either. He told Cindy she had no right to be this mad over someone who cheated on her while they were married, and that the messages he'd sent were years before he and I ever met. Logical points. Truthful points. But to Cindy, truth didn't matter. She was drunk, wounded, triggered, and the only thing she could feel was betrayal all over again. The more he talked, the more her anger grew, like a fire catching wind. I stepped between them before it could get worse, putting both hands on Cindy's shoulders and shoving her back a bit. "This is bullshit," I snapped. "Just calm down." But Cindy wasn't interested in calm. She was fixated on finding her keys, her phone, anything that would let her escape or escalate, I wasn't sure. So she started throwing things as she searched, knocking items off counters, slamming drawers, cussing under her breath and over it. I had no idea things were about to explode. Outside, the 3 guys, our friends, heard the yelling. They came running inside right at the exact moment Cindy lunged at Daniel. She swung her fist with all her strength. Daniel stumbled backward to avoid the hit and smacked his head hard against the cabinet. The sound it made was sickening, and the second he hit the floor, I saw something snap in his expression.
He was seeing red now too.
But before he could get up, the guys reacted. One grabbed her right arm. Another grabbed her left. The third wrapped both arms around her torso, trying to pin her back. I jumped in front of her, pushing her toward the mudroom, trying to force her out of the kitchen and into a space where we could control her better. I kept saying her name, begging her to stop, but she wasn't there anymore. Not mentally. She was rage and instinct and muscle. She growled, actually growled, and with a violent jerk she threw both guys off her arms. I saw the moment she turned on me, her jaw clenching. Before I could move, she lunged and bit down on the inside of my upper arm, right near my armpit. The pain was so sharp and sudden that I screamed and dropped to my knees. She didn't let go right away. And when she finally did, she shoved me down and stepped on me while I was on the floor, trying to get past me and back toward Daniel. It all happened so fast. 1 second I was standing, the next I was on the floor, throbbing arm, knee scraped, Cindy stomping toward the kitchen like a wild animal. Meanwhile, the girls outside heard the chaos. They didn't hesitate, they called the cops. Inside, the 3 guys managed to grab Cindy again and wrestle her through the mudroom and out into the front yard. She kept thrashing, trying to break free so she could go after Daniel. They were all out of breath, scratched, bruised, struggling to hold her down while she screamed and flailed. And then the police arrived. Of all the people who could have stepped out of that patrol car, it had to be someone Cindy and I grew up with. She had just joined the force, literally 3 weeks in, and she took one look at the scene, my bleeding arm, the guys' torn shirts, Daniel holding the side of his head, Cindy screaming like the world betrayed her. The officer pulled Cindy aside, stern but clearly panicking inside. Then she told her, "Call your mom. She needs to pick you up." After she got the basic rundown from all of us, she turned to me and said quietly, "Let's just let your mom get her. If we arrest Cindy tonight, her military career is done." I looked down at my arm, already swelling and bruising in a perfect semicircle where Cindy's teeth had sunk in. My shoulder throbbed. The guys were scratched and bruised. Daniel still looked dazed from hitting his head. She had attacked all of us, and the officer was asking me to protect her, to protect the same sister who had just put her teeth in my arm. What happened after the cops left is honestly the part that hurts me the most, and the part one haven't been able to let go of, no matter how much I've tried to talk myself into moving on. My mom picked Cindy up that night.
Fine.
I expected that. But what I didn't expect was for her to come back 45 minutes later with Cindy and one of Cindy's friends to pick up Cindy's truck. Cindy still went to her damn booty call that night. Like nothing happened. Like she hadn't attacked me, my husband, and our friends. Like she didn't nearly break down my front door trying to get to Daniel. She walked off into the night to hook up with some girl while I was inside cleaning blood spots off my arm and comforting my husband who still had a lump forming on the back of his skull. A week later, she was back overseas. And she didn't say a single word to me. No apology. No text. Nothing. Just complete silence like we were strangers. Fast forward to this year, her birthday. I only went to my mom's house to pick up my son. I knew Cindy was there, but I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd acknowledge what happened. Maybe she'd show some sign of remorse, or at least try to talk like an adult. Instead, she looked me dead in the face and said, "My therapist said I don't have to talk to you if I'm not ready. And if I apologized, it would be a lie." I stood there frozen, staring at her, trying to process the audacity of someone who bit me, stomped on me, attacked my husband, and terrified half the people in my home. But she's the one who's not ready. So I turned to my mother, because what else was I supposed to do? I expected some support, some acknowledgement of reality, anything. But my mother shrugged and said, "I wasn't there. I can't help." That's been her stance from day one. Neutral.
Detached.
Pretending she wasn't fully aware of everything that happened because the cop literally gave her the whole rundown. She saw my bruises.
She saw the bite mark.
She saw the way Daniel couldn't turn his head for days.
She just didn't want to deal with it.
Now, months later, she keeps guilt-tripping me. "You need to fix this. Why can't you put this aside for the family? It's the holidays. Cindy's only home once a year. Don't make this uncomfortable." I told her I'm not seeing Cindy. I'm not speaking to Cindy. And I'm sure as hell not bringing my husband and child into the same house as someone who physically attacked us without even the decency of regret. And my mother? She acts like I'm the problem. Cindy is coming in December for the entire month, and my mom wants all three of us, to pretend nothing ever happened. She wants us over for Christmas dinners, cookie decorating, gift opening, family photos. She wants me to sit in a room with the same person who left marks on my body and bruises on my husband, and just let it go. And she thinks I'm ruining the family, because I'm not willing to do that. I've hit a point where I don't even know how to respond when she brings it up. I keep thinking, if the roles were reversed, if someone attacked Cindy, my mother would burn the world down before telling her to move on for the sake of the holidays. But apparently, when it's me, it's convenient to minimize. Convenient to ignore. Convenient to pressure me into being the one to make everything smooth again. The reality is, I don't feel safe around Cindy. I don't want her near my husband or child. And I don't want to force myself into some fake holiday family unity, just so my mother doesn't have to confront the fact that one of her daughters is deeply unstable and the other one is deeply hurt. So, am I the asshole for avoiding my mother and sister? For wanting to go no contact with both after being dismissed, ignored, and blamed? I don't think so. Honestly, I think it's the first time I've ever put myself first. And this is the first time I've actually written all of it out. The truth is, saying it out loud makes me realize how much I've been carrying alone, and how much I've been forced to swallow just to keep the peace in a family where I'm the only one expected to bend. I'm done bending.